We are just going to start on record by me saying that J. Edgar Hoover was a bitch. Fight me.
The Black Panthers are the single greatest threat to our national security.
Judas and the Black Messiah is a biographical drama written and directed by Shaka King, starring Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton, the charismatic and bombastic leader of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party, and Lakeith Stanfield as Bill O'Neill, an informant for the FBI who is placed in a situation to infiltrate the Black Panther Party because of Grand Theft Auto charges, and the results prove ultimately devastating. The film wastes no time in establishing the events that created the Black Panther Party, including what they did for the community, food drives, the education system that they developed, including the opposition they faced. This was a time where J. Edgar Hoover's white supremacist witch hunt for anyone that wasn't a waspy American permeated the country. Michael Sheen gives a near unrecognizable performance as Hoover and gives a anti-Patton monologue in tone, telling the Bureau that they need to snuff out a Black Messiah to make sure that, well, people like me don't exist. Right from the jump, it's clear that Shaka King has a unique vision, and his camera is jazzy. That's the only way I can describe it. It's impressionist. It just glides around, especially around Bill O'Neill's life at the very beginning of the film, this glorious one-shot sequence that ultimately leads to the decision that he makes that gets him to the Black Panthers, where he rises to, ironically, the head of security in the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party. This is a film of two minds and two blistering performances. Daniel Kaluuya just won the Golden Globe, and he arrives as a force of nature. When he's introduced, he needs no mic.
I don't need no mic. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah! He arrives as a dragon, seeking vengeance and justice by any means necessary, including violence. And this is important to note. Fred Hampton said some shit that I didn't agree with, especially when it comes to violence against the police. But the film didn't shy away from that, and I do appreciate that level of objectivity. Now, at the same time, the film does add another layer to Fred Hampton's life that does show that sometimes one's personal life and private life are not necessarily the same. And again, it adds another great level of dimension to all of the characters in this film. At the same time, the film makes a very clear point. Fred Hampton was not a violent man and did nothing wrong other than being loud, proud, and Black. Let me repeat that for those in the back. Lakeith Stanfield underplays Bill O'Neill and plays him almost completely through his eyes. Stanfield from Sorry to Bother You and Knives Out plays Twitchy better than anyone out there, and you could really feel and see the conflict in scenes that he's in with the Panthers. There is a great scene where he is forced to hotwire a car, for example, that he lied about stealing. The tension in this film is played up very well, and part of that is punched up by the score from Craig Harris and Mark Isham. But Shaka King has a deft hand and a great eye for detail as well that really helps to put all this together. The production design for this movie is perfect. I never questioned what time period I was in. Sean Bobbitt's cinematography is great. There are moments where we see just great muted colors, then pow, we're just hit with a minutes-long dolly shot with neon lights. There's a dolly shot that lingers on a lone gunman from a gang that just hangs on you, and it's just haunting. And the movie just has that kind of power that just kind of haunts you and hooks you in and grabs you and stays with you. While Kaluuya and Stanfield provide the film's driving force and rhythm, it's Dominique Fishback's performance as Deborah Johnson, Fred Hampton's living girlfriend, that provides the heart and soul of the film. She's not only able to stand toe-to-toe with Daniel Kaluuya's performance and not get sucked up in his own orbit, but through her, provides Hampton with his quieter moments, which actually fleshes both characters out as a duo. She also provides the film's most devastating shot, and it's her performance, that little intense moment that she gives, that puts the film over the top for me. The film also features another great Jesse Plemons performance as FBI agent Roy Mitchell, the man who recruited Bill O'Neill. Now, the relationship between O'Neill and Mitchell was complex. It's clear that Bill O'Neill wanted to impress Mitchell and in real life expressed an interest in law enforcement, but unfortunately didn't realize that at the time that he was being turned into a snitch via entrapment. Again, I just love Stanfield's performance of Bill O'Neill as a twitchy, paranoid contradiction of cowardice and loyalty. Fred Hampton was the FBI's most wanted man. He did the one thing that they didn't want: absolute communal unity. The liberalist socialist movement that he preached was becoming too powerful within the Rainbow Coalition that he had put together and expanded throughout Chicago. They were all unified in their disdain for the police, the inactions of the government, and the criminality towards the poor. There's a blistering scene in which Fred Hampton infiltrates a group of white nationalists, Confederate flags standing behind the leader and all, and Hampton is able to convince them to join his cause. And once that scene happens, the assassination plot is all but done. Lately, I've had an aversion to so-called struggle movies, films that really just exist to show Black people in torturous situations. Now, this is why films like Black Panther and even Tyler Perry films are important, because they show Black faces and Black people as willful, independent, and strong-minded individuals that have agency of their own. Antebellum is an example of a horrible, struggle movie. Judas and the Black Messiah is a film because of the denouement of its real-life players. Could have fallen off of a cliff because of on-the-nose melodrama or an exploitive quality where all that would have mattered would have just been showing the struggle of Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers. The film was smart to focus on the infiltration and the internal struggle of Bill O'Neill, so it forces the audience to ask some very hard questions. Now, my personal feelings about Bill O'Neill aside, I do understand that he was placed in a very, very shitty situation. So, was Bill O'Neill really a Judas? Or was he just a victim of the systemic and institutionalized racism of the law enforcement in the 1960s? The narrative has always been that Bill O'Neill has been a snitch, a coward, and was one of the contributing factors that brought down the Black Panther Party and its mainstream appeal. But history is starting to peel back layers, and we are starting to see a little bit more of the real picture between Bill O'Neill, the Black Panther Party, and the FBI, including J. Edgar Hoover's involvement. There's a scene that perfectly and expertly explains white privilege and security when Hoover asks Mitchell the theoretical question of what Mitchell will do when his infant daughter decides to bring a Black man home. Hoover, the man at the top, was already dictating the cultural chain of command and was saying that their way of life would cease to exist if they lost this asinine cultural war that was basically created out of thin hate. The camera lingers on Mitchell, this white man who plays another Black man in this impossible situation, and we're starting to see that even he is starting to not understand Hoover's obsession with racial superiority and xenophobia. So through the eyes of a white, potentially bigoted cop, we as the audience are still able to feel that uneasy feeling of hate-fueled bigotry. God damn, this movie's good. At the end, Judas and the Black Messiah is an important film not only for reshaping the narrative about Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers, but for continuing to expose the lie that the FBI had the interests of Black America at heart during the Civil Rights Movement. Shaka King's debut should be applauded. Daniel Kaluuya gives a career best performance. Lakeith Stanfield continues to be a chameleon, and everyone who worked on this film should be tremendously proud of their efforts. Five lays. This is my favorite film of the year, and it's not even close. Now, I know that Minari, No Man Land, and Mank, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, those are the films that are the favorites for this year's Oscars. This is the movie that I'm backing my horse behind. I think it's absolutely tremendous, phenomenal, entertaining, compelling, breathtaking filmmaking. I just don't have enough words to describe my love for this film. I've seen it a couple times already. I'm sure that I will see it several more times over the years. And that is the mark of a great struggle movie, that you're willing to experience that pain in order to learn something new. If you like this review, click the button below. And if you like this review so much that you want to see more, click on the subscribe button and get notifications. Thanks for watching.